All right, today is another weekend recording, first thing in the morning, and we're going to be looking at another piece by Javier Torres Maldonado, a Mexican composer working in Italy. And this piece is for chamber orchestra, and it's called El Suspiro del Ángel, and it's for chamber orchestra but divided into three groups and supported by 4-channel audio. So there's some electronics in here too. It was commissioned by Nouvelle Ensemble Moderne and sponsored by the Mexican government, and it's dedicated to Lorraine Vaillancourt. And as for the instrumentation, I'm going to list the numbers here. So it's 1121, 1110, percussion, 1 player, piano, and 11111 for the strings. The way that it's grouped, group 1 is trumpet, oboe, flute doubling on piccolo, both violins and piano. Group 2 is 2 bass clarinets and trombone. And group 3 is the biggest one. It's horn, bassoon, viola, cello, bass, and percussion. And the full percussion list is metal chimes, spring coil, tam-tam, bass drum, Glock, suspended cymbal, both 2 of them, like one medium-sized, one large, large gong, vibraphone, tubular bells, crotales, bongos, 4 tom-toms, guiro, congas, marimba, lion's roar, and 2 bamboo chimes. This is all 1 player. The layout of the ensemble looks like this. There are some bamboo chimes situated next to the pianist, and there are some bamboo chimes situated with the percussionist. At the back of the hall, we have trombones situated between the 2 bass clarinets, and then we have group 1 on one side and group 3 on the other. You can see the brass is positioned front of the house, and followed by the oboe and bassoon and flute, which are a little bit further back, and then the strings are towards the back of both of these groups. And this is what the first page looks like. It's laid out in such a way that you see each group, and you also get some idea of what the fixed media looks like. This is going to be played back by a CD because this is quite a old piece. I can't find a date right now, but I'll put it in a subtitle. Yeah, there's a Max MSP patch, it looks like, as well, so there's some live electronics. And the piece is 10.5 minutes long. The pianist has a MIDI pedal to cue the starting event of the fixed media. And yeah, then we get into the usual stuff. If you're not familiar with Javier's music, we've looked at, I think, 4 other pieces by him already. He's a modernist sort of composer who studied with Donatoni, but he has a unique mix in his works of like serial technique with post-serial technique. He borrows a lot from spectral composers, but in a manner that decorates music which is essentially like 12-tone or serial music. And he really has a way with electronics and extended techniques and all kinds of stuff. So with that being said, let's get into it. if you would like access to the recording, I've put it in the description to the video. Let me just make sure that I can't even find it. Yeah, he has it on his SoundCloud account. So this is going to be a SoundCloud link today. Turns out the piece was composed in 2006. So just a little bit older than the Djordjevic we looked at yesterday. Okay, yeah, this is not what I was expecting based on other pieces of his that we've looked at. It was very slow and sparse, and it was interesting to see how he used electronics throughout the piece. I think a lot of the piece's magic gets lost in the process of recording it, because the whole point of having everybody divided in this way is to have this spatial relationship on stage, and I'm sure the quadraphonic fixed media has its own spatial relationships to the ensemble, but you can tell from looking at the score that these spatial effects would be quite effective, even though it's a pretty slow piece. A lot of silence where you get to listen to the fixed media, and he does a good job of giving you a breathing room to listen to the electronics, and the electronics had a lot of like sine tony kind of sounds, or like simple processes like filtering, but without sounding dated. I think a lot of spectral pieces, like I'm thinking of Disintegrations by Murray, like those effects can sound a little bit dated, but this didn't. It sounded very seamless and captivating, because the electronics were so closely blurred with these quiet sounds in the three ensembles. I really liked, there was one moment with oboe and viola, and I really liked at the end there was a moment with when the bamboo chimes came into play at the very end. I was wondering when they would get used, and it was very pleasant to have their moment at the end, this extra bit of color introduced. And one thing about it, though, was I think because a lot of the effects processing was like these long reverbs and delays and granular things that need to capture sounds from the ensemble, there was a lot of the whole ensemble building up to something and then cutting off. So you had a lot of these slow building climaxes which never stayed at that peak. They just end, and you get this electronic sound scape out of it, and then there's a sparser section, it builds up again. So just based on the nature, I think, of how it was put together, how the electronics worked, the piece ended up becoming these certain gestures and formal ideas. But that's not a criticism exactly, it's just more of an observation. I think it would have been very magical to see live, and even though it's a very demanding chamber orchestra work in terms of setup, and it's only 10 minutes long, I still think it would be worth putting on again just to like capture that magic of hearing it again. And if you look at the setup itself, this would look really fantastic on stage, and I think the spatialized stuff alone would attract a lot of audience members who maybe aren't as privy to new music. It was first performed in Montreal, and there is a bit of a program note here. He talks about his piece Luz for accordion and string quartet, which he wrote 6 years prior to this piece. And that piece also deals with the idea of an angel or supernatural being. So if you are looking for something else to watch and listen to, I have a video on Luz from a couple series back, and I would highly recommend checking it out. I think it's episode 29, and I think the two of these pieces would make a really good pairing, actually. Tomorrow we will keep looking at more chamber orchestra pieces.